Hi guys, so I'm going to put a few videos together to try and help you with your assignment, and one of the things that we need to look at in your assignment is something called price elasticity of demand, and I don't think I got this far with you in class, so I'm going to try and record this. Hopefully it will come across okay. If I make a few mistakes or stumble as I go along, then I apologise, as I'm trying to get used to doing this, without anybody actually here, so it's a little bit strange. Okay, so price elasticity of demand looks at the responsiveness of one variable to changes in another. Essentially, it looks at the relationship between price and demand. Now, generally speaking, as price increases, demand for a product will fall as you price people out of buying that product. Think about how some of the luxury brands might work for just a second. But that's not the case with all products, and price elasticity of demand enables businesses to see that relationship, and the outcomes will tell them a little bit about what's known as the price elasticity of their product. So elasticity, generally speaking, looks at the extent to which demand will change, because it will depend on what product you're looking at. That determines what happens to demand if, like in this example, price rises by 10%. So for some products that are very easy to copy or easy to imitate, if you put your price up by 10% on, let's say, toothpaste, then actually people can easily switch into another competitor, or they can go for another similar product because there are lots of alternatives. Whereas for something like a Gucci or a Louis Vuitton bag, or something that's very branded, something that feels like a one-off, if you put that price up by 10%, demand probably won't fall very much because it's a lot harder to copy that product. And of course, people operating at that price point are less worried about that price increase. So this is what elasticity looks at. It says, well, if we increase price by a certain percentage, what's going to happen to demand? Now, when you do the calculation, and you won't have to do this for your assignment, you can see that relationship, and depending on the outcome of the calculation, will tell you whether your product is either price elastic or price inelastic. So, with PED, generally speaking, if your answer is between 0 and -1, then your relationship is inelastic. If the answer is between -1 and infinity, the relationship is known as being price elastic. When a product is price inelastic, consumers do not react much to a change in price. We see each year with things like the iPhone, there is phenomenal demand and people are very loyal to this product. Therefore, every time they put the price up with a new model, people don't really, the demand for that product doesn't hugely change. Whereas with price elastic goods, customers are very reactive to changes in price. And in this case, if you were to say cut price of an essential product like toothpaste or something like that, then people would probably buy the cheaper one. Or if you were to increase price of your product, then people would easily switch into an alternative. Generally speaking, for me, price inelastic products are those ones that are harder to imitate. There are not that many substitute products available. And so you look quite heavily at the branded goods, which for your assignment, a lot of your products will be branded. Whereas for price elastic goods, just think of things that there are lots of alternatives available that are easy to switch in and out of. If that's the case for your company, then you might be looking at a company that has a price elastic product. I know some of you are looking at supermarkets. They clearly are going to have a mixture of goods that are price elastic and inelastic. So you might just want to think about how you apply the theory there. So businesses can obviously make decisions based on the price elasticity of demand that they're given, because it tells you whether your price is elastic or inelastic. It also tells you the percentage that demand will change for a given change in price, so they can then use it to set their price and see the effect that it will have on demand. So it's just another example here. If price elasticity of demand is given as -3, we can then determine that this is a price elastic product. And it means that a percentage change in demand will be more than the percentage change in price. So if we increase price by 10%, demand would decrease by 30%. And what that means is that your revenue will fall. So for this company, they can't really get away with a 10% increase in their product because it's price elastic. If they were to put it up, demand for this product is going to decrease by a greater percentage. And that's how it will help companies make these decisions. So there's a couple of examples here that you guys can just take a look at and have a think through for cigarettes now and the Twix. Now a Twix is like a little treat, whereas cigarettes are what we call habit forming. So they're addictive, people have to have them. And so as you can see there with the cigarettes, if the price of cigarettes was to increase by 10%, then sales would actually only drop by 5%, meaning that actually for them, that is a reasonable thing to do because it should protect their revenue. The price increase outweighs the drop off in sales. Whereas and with the Twix, you can see that if they were to cut price by 10%, then the Twix would be suddenly the cheaper chocolate bar and sales would boom in this area. So that's how you might try and make the decision. If you can see that a price change is outweighed by relevant falls or increases in demand, essentially companies are looking at, can we move the price and still get the revenue levels that we want? Can we still achieve the same sales levels? So it can also help companies to estimate the response in demand and what revenue they might hope to collect from these price changes. If you have elastic demand, increasing the price will have a big effect on revenue as demand will normally drop significantly. And inelastic price elasticity of demand means that increasing prices will have little effect on demand, so revenues and profits will rise. So for your businesses that you're looking at, if you think that you are a company that sells largely price inelastic products, then generally speaking for them, they can get away with price increases. Whereas if your companies are looking at if your companies that you're looking at for your assignment are mainly elastic demand products, then they have a big problem if they wish to increase price because they're likely to see a fall in demand. Interestingly, at the moment with COVID-19, certain essential products are starting to become rarer in supply. And so actually products that were previously quite price elastic might at the moment be able to get away with price increases. So if you think about what's happening with loo roll at the moment, actually a price increase on that is currently not going to put people off because it's so short in supply. But in normal business circumstances, you wouldn't expect that because you could easily trade into a cheaper supplier or a different alternative substitute product there. This is a really nice grid that I think you should just take a few minutes to pause and look at. This for me is the grid that I would use to try and explain how PED works in my assignment. It's important you don't just paste the grid in, but you just explain the different relationships between PED and the sales revenue that a business could expect to receive. Now, the next couple of slides just look at things that influence the price elasticity of demand, and these will be things that you can easily apply to your business. There's no complicated maths here. You've just got to go, well, does my business actually fit into any of these descriptions? So necessity goods tend to be very price inelastic as they have to be bought no matter what the price is. Habit forming products are also very much of the same thinking because people just find that they have to have them. They're addictive, and we're seeing that at the moment with the amount of alcohol that's being sold as people are forced to stay in. And then if there are lots of substitute products available, if there's no alternative substitutes, then your good is likely to be more inelastic. But if there are lots of alternative substitutes, then your product is likely to be price elastic. Brand loyalty certainly increases the amount of inelasticity of a product. Think about your favorite coffee brand and how that will be the one you always go to. Depending on how much of your income you actually spend on a product will determine how price elastic or inelastic it is. And also just generally, how much do consumers actually earn? If people are less worried about a price rise, because they have a significant amount of cash, then they're not so worried about spending more on it. They'll be less affected by the price increase. Whereas if you've got less disposable income, then you're not going to be able to just buy the product at the increased price. So that's the end of my first kind of PowerPoint video here. If you want me to go over any of this stuff again, then you feel free to send me questions via Show My Homework, or if you want me to answer any kind of questions or queries on any part of your assignment, then please do just get in contact with me. Okay, I'm going to try and upload this now. Hopefully this will work well. Cheers.